Hi, I'm Ray Wang, and we're going to talk about what is happening today as we rethink business continuity and the future of continuous planning. Now, this is an extremely exciting topic. Why is that? Because there's an amount of change that's going on, and we are building for that future. We are building for that post-pandemic world. But let's take a step back. Let's think about what has been going on. We've seen a lot of disruption over the last 20 years. When we did this survey the first time and we started to look at what was happening in terms of transformation inside organizations, it was 53%, 52% of the Fortune 500 merged, acquired, gone bankrupt, and fallen off the list. But it's now 61% in the latest study. Amazing amount of transformation that is happening in the marketplace. Okay, so I want you to think back. 2010, about 10 years ago, what do you think the top performing stock was? This is a very important thing. All right, so I'm gonna give you some time. I'm gonna put some names up here, put some logos, some familiar companies that you've been talking about, that you've been thinking about, that might even be in your portfolio. Are you guys ready? Here's the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Are you ready? Here we go. Yes, it's Domino's Pizza. Right? Now, you're probably thinking like, how in the world did these guys do this? Now, if you think about it, today they are a data-driven organization. All that data, all those digital channels, all those feeds give them the ability to do continuous planning in a way a lot of organizations can't do. Let's think about this. You order the pizza, it's 4 p.m., and an app pops up and says, the notification says, would you like a pizza? So you order the pizza. Suddenly, you get status alerts. You know where the pizza is. It's going into the oven. It's about 10 minutes away. It's 5 minutes away. And now it's at your home. And guess what? They even allow you to take a picture of the pizza and scan it. And their AI engine is going to look at the quality to say, is this a good pizza? Is this not a good pizza? What happened? Now, in the background, what they're able to do is they now know how often a pizza is ordered. They can plan for that. They can change their supply chains. They can adjust that. They know their peak hours. It's all being captured. It allows them to figure out how to change their staffing, their workforce management. And it can also figure out, hey, what types of ingredients do we have to order in bulk? How do we work with our suppliers? How do we make that happen? And suddenly, they are a data-driven organization, and they are winning that digital transformation battle. Now, that is so important because when we go forward, these capabilities are what we're trying to do. We're trying to capture all types of information, all types of insight, and use that to be able to plan better. That's the heart of this, building scenarios that you can use, building business models that people can apply, and really thinking about it in all departments, bringing that together from marketing to finance to what's happening in customer experience to supply chains and operations. But the most important part is really what us as finance professionals can do, right? FP&A professionals have that opportunity to really change what's going on. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity for us to go out and think about the future. And that future starts with continuous planning. Now, why are we in this age of continuous planning? It's a very important thing. Now, this is like one of the SecOps cybersecurity war rooms. That's what you're looking at here in the background. And you can see the biggest thing that's changing is that speed of business. We have to react more quickly. In a digital world, things don't slow down. In a digital world, in fact, business accelerates, and we have to catch up with the speed of business. If we don't change that pace of change, if we don't adjust to that pace of change, we're not going to be able to be successful. The second thing is, we all know this, the spreadsheet is dead again. All right, no, this time it's for real. We are seeing different ways in terms of how people communicate, how they share, how they collaborate, how they work together on these plans. And given how sensitive that data is, how important that data is, we have to find ways to ensure that it's secure, we can collaborate, we can share, we can iterate, and that spreadsheet's not going to do it for you. And then the cloud is changing the way we work. Right? How we work, where we work, when we work, what happens. And because of that, we are now able to work from home. We can shelter in place. We can actually collaborate and we can connect in a decentralized way. And that efficiency and that ability has transformed how we actually get things done. And then, of course, we have to change our existing assumptions. We got disruptions out of nowhere. Things you didn't even plan for, things you would never have considered is now happening right now. And of course, we're adjusting to that. And then, of course, we have to use AI, machine learning, to accelerate our ability to do automation. That is happening right now. What repetitive tasks that we are so bad at can we go and make sure it's automated? What things that require precision that we often have human errors from actually manually entering things that will go away? What patterns of insight that we've never thought of can we actually bring to bear here and actually help us find out opportunities, risks, mitigation, and that's going to be very apparent as we go forward. So this isn't easy to do. You know that. I know that. It requires a little bit of work on your end. And there's 5 things that we struggle with all the time. The first one is we're dogged by disparate data sources. There's data everywhere. It's sitting all over the place. And in many cases with the cloud, it's all over these different clouds. It's on premises. It's hybrid, right? And how do we bring that in? And even more importantly, there's a ton of data that doesn't sit inside your existing systems. Now, the second thing is we've been built for batch. We're like, oh yeah, we'll run that plan once a month. Oh, we'll run it once a week. You try doing that right now. People are running their plans at an hourly basis, not a daily basis, an hourly basis, because they're trying to understand how much cash is on hand. They're trying to figure out, what do we do on Forex? What do we do on supply chains? What do we actually have? How many people do we have? These plans are being updated so quickly, so continuously that it is beyond real time. Now, the third thing is a lot of the systems we have, they were built for silos. It was like functional fiefdoms from hell. I mean, departments were having their own little thing going on. People were trying to aggregate their spreadsheet. Things were trying to connect to each other. Like, my plan is different than your plan. But wait, we all have the same data. How did that happen? I mean, this is chaos, right? And then the fourth thing that we see all the time is these were built for quant jocks, right? People that understood how to build, my algorithms are better than your algorithms, right? My macros are more powerful than yours. I don't remember how to build a macro. Actually, I do know how to build a macro, but the point being is why do I have to know how to build a macro? And so can we get this in the hands of everybody? Can we democratize that information so that you can actually build your own plans, adjust them, and everybody on the front line can use this? Right? This is valuable information. We are adjusting so quickly. We've got to get to that pace of change. And then the last piece, a lot of these products, they were half built. We had to piece and duct tape together all the capabilities. And, it's not pretty. It really isn't pretty, especially when you actually have to do, we have companies that went from weekly financial close to daily, right? And it took them a day to do the weekly financial close. Just think about that. And the ability to then plan from that, these were very, very slow systems. Now, part of this is also hard because data is exploding everywhere. I'm not going to hit all these stats, but what I really do want you to see is that last stat. 70% of your mission critical data, it's going to happen outside your 4 walls. You have no control of it. That data is going to be all over the map, right? It's not pretty. Now, sometimes it's weather data, right? And you get a weather feed, that's beautiful, but it's social data, it's comments coming from somewhere else. It might be ad network information, right? You might get a feed from, a really old creaky POS system. And you're like, hey, where'd that come from? Hey, what date was that? And that's actually creating this issue. And so what we really want to do is we want to improve analytical insights to make better planning decisions. Hey, give me all types of data. I don't care what type of data. Structured, unstructured, semi-structured. That's perfect, right? But then I've got to align it to business process. Order to cash, procure to pay, incident to resolution, right? These are important things, right? How do we go from concept to market? What do we actually have to do from lead to campaign to lead, and going from that to finally an order. All those things have to be in play. So when you take data, you align it to a business process, you now have the ability to start looking at those information flows. And that becomes part of what you're trying to do. And once we have that in place, we're looking for insight. We're trying to find patterns. And once we have those patterns, we need to take action, and get to decisions. This is what we call a data to decisions pipeline. This data decisions pipeline allows us to start improving the way we plan, the way we automate transactions, the way we actually get to a level of insight that we couldn't get to before. And this is happening not batch, not once a day, not once an hour. In many cases, this is happening in minutes. And this is the heart of how we get there. Now, the other piece that we've been thinking about is really how do we actually apply AI and automation analytics to make this successful? So think about this. There are 4 things that are in areas and processes where you will want to automate to be able to get there. The first one is things that are highly repetitive. We get bored when things are highly repetitive. We make mistakes because we're that bored, and we're not very good at repetition. We can get it to a certain point, but after that, a lot of issues start to arise. The second thing, lots of volume. If you've got transactions, you've got processes with massive volume, you're overwhelmed, right? You can't keep up, right? And all we can do is keep adding individuals onto that, and we can't then go out and scale. And that's why time to completion becomes very hard, because we've got to figure out how do we scale, and you can't really do that with more people. The last piece, which is important, is nodes of interaction. You might be able to communicate one, two, multitask 2 or 3 things at once, but guess what? You can't do it for hundreds, thousands of different interactions at the same time. And this is why these are candidates of processes that actually go for automation. And we often see this in areas for automation using machine learning and, of course, AI to improve that. Now, there are other areas where we're really good at, and because we're humans, like we make the rules, we break the rules. We're really good at creativity and making that happen. We're really good at complexity, where we actually have things that we can't model in math, but intuition and our experience over time help us get to that answer. And of course, things with fine motor skills and physical presence are hard to do. So one of the tough things that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to answer these 4 questions as we get to this continuous planning journey. The first one is, when do we automate fully, intelligently, without any human intervention? The second thing is, when do we augment the machine with the human? Because we have exceptions, we have nuance, and how do we learn that? 99% accuracy, manufacturing? Yeah, I might celebrate. Would you celebrate 99% accuracy in healthcare? I don't think so. And so that's the nuance. We got to train these systems so we're confident with the systems that we've put together. Now, the third piece is important. That's happening today. When do we augment humans with the machine? Getting more information, getting more insights, figuring out patterns, jumping straight in there. And that's what's going on there. And then the last piece is their place is still for human judgment. When do we trust human judgment? Where do we trust human judgment? Every organization is going to be going through this going forward. And the whole idea is to really take this, to take AI to the next level. There are business outcomes that are important. The first thing is tell me, hey, what's going on? What's happening right now? The second thing, give me a notification, give me an alert, tell me what's there. And then of course, over time, make recommendations, give me a suggestion. And then we start automating that. That's how we build these systems to become smarter. And in fact, we're getting to a level where we're actually applying continuous planning to be able to predict things. What's happening? Why is it happening? How often does it occur? Is it dependent, not dependent? And then more importantly, we can get to prevention. Prevention is amazing. If we can prevent a problem from happening because we actually have it in a model and in a scenario, we've won. Long time ago, large cell phone manufacturer, their phones were announced everywhere in the airports. I won't say who, but you exactly know who that is. These folks pulled an 8-week recall. 8-week recall for 130 phones. That's 8 sigma in quality. So an 8-week recall of 8 sigma in quality of phones cost this company $8 billion. If you could take that down to 1 week, that would be $1 billion. If you could take that down to 1 day, that would have been $100 million. What's $1 million investment in planning software if you can get $100 million of risk out? It's nothing. That's why it's so important to think about where we are in terms of prevention and risk mitigation. Okay, so what's hot? Why are we doing this? Let's think about the big scenarios. I want to close faster, right? The most basic thing. I'm an FP&A professional. I'm in finance. Like, how do we do this? How do we match this properly? How do we make sure we hit all the regulatory requirements in place? How do we automate and augment these manual processes so that we can get to a point that we're going to be successful? We make less errors. One error doesn't cause a fine that actually costs us hundreds of millions, right? We got to get out of that. And then, of course, how do we model complex scenarios? We're good at automating some things in a department and others. Can we get an enterprise model in place? Can we look at price sensitivity? Can we see what actually happens? If, do I add $100 million in ad spend, or do I hire 10 more FTEs in marketing? Which one's going to give me a better outcome? And then, of course, what we're building for the long term is the ability to choose next best action. How do we actually make that suggestion? How do we train these systems to be smart, to be intelligent, and give us the right level of decisions? How do we deliver on mass personalization at scale, making sure we can personalize and scale and do it in an affordable manner? And then, of course, we start having information and insight. Think about SNOP. We've got the ability to do pricing optimization, understand demand signals, look at elasticity, when something's elastic, when something's inelastic. We have a client that's kind of hilarious, right? They figured out how to model water and beer, like in Las Vegas. When you think of big events back in the day, Monday, a beer might be $5. A beer might be like $10 on a Tuesday because the conference season is kicked in. Fight night on Friday, the beer might be $20. That's what we're talking about. How do we get to that level of planning? And then, of course, regulatory compliance. Yep. Faceless hoodie good is here, right? Regulatory compliance. yeah, how do we actually do this? How do we get this in the right way to make sure things are okay, follow the right rules, and of course, how do we mitigate risk, prevent disasters from happening? I gave you that example in the cell phone manufacturer. Can we do that? Can we find something that's a problem beforehand? Can we mitigate a risk that would actually take out millions or billions in some companies and get there? And then the last piece, which you'll hear a little about, is financial IQ. How do we increase financial IQ? Right? How do we augment humans? How do we get to the ability where we are smarter with our decisions, we are faster with our decisions, we build upon the lessons that we learn. Okay, so how do we get here? What's important? Quick thing, it's really about thinking about speed. How do we design for speed? How do we make sure we can actually react more quickly? Business continuity is great, things are back up, but do you have agility and speed? Second thing, can we make this easy to use so that everybody can jump in, everybody can build a plan, they can comment, they can do it in a secure fashion? And then, of course, can we do this and build them for businesses and industries and verticals so that we're successful, so that we can think about how we're ready to go in each one of those industry verticals? And then, of course, I just always wanted to put these slides up. I have no idea what these Easter Island heads are doing, but the point being is, are we relevant, right? Is it contextually relevant? Why is it here? What's the time? What's the location? What business process I'm in? What's the weather like? And when we bring all that together, not that information is so much useful. Those continuous plans have much more relevancy. And of course, you want it to be on an architecture that's something you can expand on, something you can build, something you can easily integrate and connect. And then, of course, everything has to be secure, right? That is one of the most important things going on right now. Okay, so real quick, what do we do? These all tie back to that future we have, thinking about the post-pandemic playbook, what's happening, right? There's the world before COVID and the world after COVID, and we are living in the AC world. That AC world is really a balance between public health and economic health, and how do we tie people and processes, new business models, technology, and of course, politics and legislation to the mix. Here's kind of a sneak peek for you to get focused. But on the people and process side, we're seeing new types of leadership models. We're seeing trust emerge as an important part of that currency. Definitely, of course, changes in how we work in terms of remote work, work from home. We're also thinking reskilling and training. People are actually going back to the gig economy, thinking about new options and opportunities. Mental health and safety, also very important. And of course, how we communicate ourselves to the rest of the world and inside our organizations. On the technology side, business continuity planning was super important, but resiliency, getting into the cloud, getting to precision decisions, AI automation, focusing on the cloud, cybersecurity, digital acceleration. These are pillars of what you need to do in continuous planning. And when we think about business model economy, things are changing. Subscriptions are important. M&As are going to occur. Post-merger integration is going to be out there. We've got lots of things that are happening on the back end. We've got to prepare for this big global war between two superpowers. And on the politics side, we're seeing supply chains change, right? Supply chains are going to shift. People are going to be really worried about risk, having concentration of supply chains in one area. We're going to see that diversification and that reduction of risk, and that's going to change the way you plan. Now, how do we get started? Well, you can start very quickly. We've got to go back and frame the business questions we want to ask in planning. Start with that business question and think big. Ask questions you don't know the answer to. Most of the time you don't know the answer because the data's not there, right? And now we got to go back and find the data sources. But don't ask a question because there's no data there that you can find. Ask the question and let's go back and find the data sources. Now, once we have the data sources, we got to make this easy. We got to figure out how to train our folks to easily find patterns, find what's going on. I'm kind of curious what's going on in the middle. Like, why is that red? Why is that amber? Like, what's going on right there, right? So you want people to naturally be curious to ask questions, use that data, find the answers, and be able to move forward from there. And then, of course, you got to connect it to the right people. Right? Mapping that data, mapping that insight, mapping that plan to the organization is important. And we map it to the organization and the right people, we can start making better decisions. We can use visualization to help us get there. We can look at these plans and make better decisions. All right, real quick, I know I'm almost out of time, or I might have gone over, but here's the thing. 5 things to get started. Let's start figuring out new experiences and outcomes. Think about what we want to do. Think about that question. How do we want to get there? How do we apply continuous planning across the organization where finance plus marketing, finance plus operations, finance plus supply chain come together? And then, of course, we got to build a whole new DNA, making sure people can get onto these systems, use them easily. We're building that digital DNA so that we can think about how we can do continuous planning. And then the third piece is form follows function. Your business model is important. Get what you're trying to do first, then apply the right set of technologies. And then we're moving to a world from gut-driven to data decisions, right? Data-driven decisions coming from continuous planning. And then the last piece is you can't do this on your own. We got to figure out how to find co-innovation, co-creation partners, work with your partners, work with people you trust, work with your business experts, and of course, work with people that understand how to bring all that together in that software so that you're successful. All right, that's it. That's it on my end. Thank you so much. I hope you have an awesome event. And of course, if you need to reach me, feel free to drop me anywhere here, but reference the Planful virtual event, and I'll get back to you. Thank you very much.